Hi everyone, it's Agnieszka from 5 Minute Language. Welcome to my channel. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. So today's video is about pronouncing Polish names. You guessed it right. I have a similar video which is very popular. It's about how to pronounce Polish names and I talk about first names in that video. So I share with you a number of very common Polish names and there's a discussion underneath the video where lots and lots of people share their family names as well, where they ask about their pronunciation, and various Polish speakers have commented as well to talk about how to pronounce those names. So make sure you check it out. It's in the description box below. But this video is a little bit different. I'm going to talk about Polish surnames and specifically I'm going to react to how they are pronounced by English speakers. So I have been able to find some footage of English speakers, English native speakers pronouncing those surnames. And the reason I've been able to do that is because there are some sports people and athletes who have been quite popular recently and who often come up on English language news. So I have been able to find some examples of footage where people talk about those sports people. So we're going to talk about some football players. If you're American, I'm talking about soccer. But I am also going to mention a couple of other disciplines as well. So we're going to start with a very difficult one. And I'm going to listen to it and then react to it. So comment on the pronunciation and also tell you the pronunciation that you would actually use if you're a native Polish speaker. So let's get started. So the first one is quite tricky. Wait for it.
Now, today's video provides a new challenge, which is pronouncing this player's name. But thanks to Dan O'Hagan on Twitter, he put a tweet out, which is on the screen right now, saying or suggesting how to pronounce the name, which is Przemysław Poketa. So for the rest of this video, I will be referring to him as Poketa because I think that just sort of avoids any annoyance to anyone or any offence, which is something we don't want to do here.
I don't think this is going to cause any offense. The name is indeed one of the most difficult names I've actually heard in the Polish language. First of all, the first name, Przemysław, is quite a long name. It contains quite a lot of consonants, so it's quite tricky to pronounce. So I would say the person who made this video actually did a really good job pronouncing it, given the circumstances. So let's listen to how he says the first name, and then we're going to look at the surname, because that's the main thing that we're here for.
Or suggesting how to pronounce the name, which is Przemysław.
So he says Przemysław, which is very close to the original pronunciation. The first thing I'm going to say is the stress. So the stress is slightly incorrect. The way he says it is Przemysław, so he emphasizes the first syllable. But actually in Polish, pretty much every word is stressed on the second last syllable. So in this case, it's going to be Przemysław. We're going to stress the middle syllable, which is the second syllable from the end. Przemysław. Let's listen to his pronunciation again,
which is Przemysław Poketa.
So another thing that I want to point out is that there is a P at the start of the name. So it's not just Przemysław, it's Przemysław. And I can totally understand why this is challenging for non-native Polish speakers. It's because the P and Sh are not sounded letters. So they are kind of quite silent, P, Sh. And combining them together is quite a bit of a challenge. So instead of saying Przemysław, you have to quickly say the P at the start as well. So it's P, Przemysław. Now we're going to move on to the surname. As I promised, we're going to be focusing mainly on surnames in this video, but Przemysław was an interesting name to cover before we get into it.
Or suggesting how to pronounce the name, which is Przemysław Poketa.
So the way he says it is pretty much correct, except the sound in the middle, which is CH, is actually pronounced H, not K. The way it's confusing for English speakers is because there is a C, so it kind of looks like a K sound. For example, in the English word school, there is a CH, which is pronounced like a K. But in Polish, the C is completely silent. So all we're pronouncing there is an H. So it should be Płacheta, not Płaketa. Okay, the next one is a football player that you definitely know. He's probably one of the most popular football players at the moment. I'm not a big football expert at all. Actually, I don't know much about it at all, but I definitely know this player. So let's listen to an English native speaker pronouncing this name.
It delivers again. Who else but Robert Lewandowski? And for the
That's it. It's Robert Lewandowski. So this is a name that is actually quite easy to pronounce by non-native Polish speakers, as long as you know that the W is not pronounced as a W, but as a V in Polish. So in Polish, whenever there's a W, you pronounce it as if it was a V. So for example, in the word very in English. So it's Lewandowski. Okay, the next one is quite a tricky one as well. When you look at the spelling and you see it for the first time, you probably freak out, and it's fair enough. It's a very difficult name.
Wojciech Szczesny played the long game. He arrived at Juventus.
Okay, so this pronunciation is actually wrong. I definitely can empathize with the English native speaker who said it. It's pretty much impossible to work out how to do it when you don't know the rules of the Polish pronunciation. So in Polish, when there is an S and a Z, it's a sh sound. When there's a C and a Z, it's a ch sound. So the sh sound is like in the English word shoe, and the ch sound is like in the English word to chew. So then the challenge is to combine those two sounds at the start of the name, sh, ch, ch, which is quite tricky. It doesn't exist in English, that kind of combination, but in Polish you have to do it very quickly. Szczęsny. Let's listen to it again.
Wojciech Szczesny.
Okay, the next mistake that this person made is he said shizny. So he didn't know how to pronounce the E with the stroke, which is not actually an E. It's a nasal sound and it sounds like ow, ow. So you almost have to say it through your nose, ow. And the next letter is an S, which in Polish is pronounced as an S rather than a Z. Let's listen to his pronunciation again.
Wojciech Szczesny played.
So szczęsny, not shizny. And then finally, the Y at the end of the name is I. So it's kind of like in the English word bin, bin. It's not an E, it's more like a throaty sound, I. So it's szczęsny. Okay, so I haven't got any more footage, but I've got 3 bonus names, and I'm sure you will recognize at least one of them. So the first one is a tennis player, Świątek. A lot of the time when I hear English speakers pronounce this name, they don't know how to pronounce the S with the accent at the start of the name. So they say Świątek, which is fair enough. You know, it's not something that somebody who doesn't speak Polish would know. But the S with an accent is a sh. So it's kind of like an SH sound in English, but it's much softer. So imagine saying sh, but you're smiling at the same time. Sh, sh, sh. And then you make it softer and softer and softer. So sh, świątek. So that's the mistake that most people will make. They will say świątek when it should be świątek. Okay, the next one is another Polish tennis player, Radwańska. And the mistake that I often hear is, again, to do with an accented letter, is the N, which has an accent over it. And essentially what the accent does is it softens the sound. So it's not an N, it's not N, like in the word no, it's N. I can't really explain how you should pronounce it using analogies with the English language, because this sound doesn't exist in English. But if you speak Spanish, for example, the word España or Español contain this sound. It's the N sound. It's very short. It's not ni, it's N. Radwańska. So it's not Radwanska, it's Radwańska. And the final one is an NFL player. So if you're an American, you probably know the name. It's Gronkowski. I know that American people pronounce these names in an Americanized way because often those names belong to Americans of Polish descent and they will be pronounced differently. But I'm just going to talk about how a Polish person in Poland would pronounce those names if it was the name of a Polish person. So we wouldn't say Gronkowski, how most Americans would say it. We would say Gronkowski. So the O is pronounced O and the W is pronounced V. So, you know, like the letter V in very. Gronkowski. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this little video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below if you knew exactly how to pronounce any of the names that I covered today. And I'll see you next time. Bye.